Hey guys, my name is John Park, and welcome to another Foundation Patreon. So before I kind of show you guys exactly the next evolved process, I want to kind of take you through a quick tutorial on how I would paint this vehicle up. Not only reference color, lighting, and texture, but also use a photo to help with a lot of the designs, um, and kind of coming up with a very creative solution. So doing a vehicle character, environment, everything always is going to start off with very basic drawing and understanding the shapes. And what I'm going to really focus on is just trying to block out those basic shapes, by just blocking out my drawing, my information here. And I'm drawing this stuff out just so that when we start to paint, like, I know exactly what shapes to put down. And to be honest, like, drawing a single object is relatively easier only because it focuses on one object. It doesn't focus on too many elements, and it's just on one simple object here. These can be relatively kind of loose because all I'm trying to do is capture the overall proportion and shape. Um, I'm not necessarily trying to do the perfect drawing. I'm just trying to capture just the basic proportions. Okay, let's do this. And then maybe we can draw in this shape here. So even when you're doing your own designs, you need to kind of do a really rough or quick drawing in order to understand what shapes you're putting down. Okay, so this is something that most of you guys are very familiar with. I'm sure you guys have done this before. It's very common to do kind of like the shape here, and to kind of block out these things before we do a much more finalized painting. And then from here, okay, so we have that. And I specifically chose this because it is a simple image, that there's not too many things. Even the background is like very, very simple. There's not much going on. And it just makes it easier to paint, easier to study. Okay, so once you have something like this, then I'm gonna actually go ahead and paint. Let's go ahead and paint our object here. Let's see here. All I really want is just a little bit of texture on the ground. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of variety here. And then once you get that variety, I'm gonna start indicating just maybe a few more shapes, like a few more details, like some of these marks here, like for the dirt and things like that. I want you guys to keep in mind how loose I'm being too with this stuff. Like, I'm actually just painting very abstractly just some of these shapes, because I'm going to reinforce our edges of our vehicle very soon. Now when I paint our vehicle here, I'm going to go ahead and start blocking out just the simple shapes of like the tires. I'm going to use one value. Everything is going to be painted with just this one value in color. Okay, I'm actually going to go ahead and just lasso out the entire vehicle. And then let's go ahead and do this. I want to use some of these shapes here. Use a marquee tool. The marquee tool makes it really easy to kind of just paint anything that's square-like. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint bucket the entire thing, just like this. So the first thing I want to do is actually establish kind of my darks. And I'm going to go ahead and create a layer, and I'm going to clip it in here, and I'm going to start painting in just all of my dark shapes. Now if you want to kind of paint in your dark shapes by lassoing, you can, but I want to keep it pretty economical, like just really brushy, because you know you want to keep it nice and nice and painterly at this phase. So let's do that, and then let's go ahead and paint in the shadow shape, and I'm keeping again everything pretty graphic. Or I'm trying to be as graphic as I can. And I'm keeping everything on this layer is going to be all graphic and just dark shapes. So you'll notice as I paint here, I'm selecting areas where there's a shadow. I'm gonna go, okay, there's like a dark shadow shape here. sometimes I'll even switch brushes, and this is where, you know, I want you guys to kind of have the liberty and freedom to kind of play around with your tools a little bit more. And I just want you to indicate all of the darker shapes and values here. Now, the reason why I'm doing a study to begin with is, one, I want to understand just kind of how to break this down into simple graphic shapes. You know, I also want to get a good sense of the details and the handling before we do any of our own kind of concept, okay? Basically do a copy of your desired image, or your subject, to really understand what the parameters or what the object is before altering or inventing your own shapes. And that's the very thing I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to just paint in and you'll notice me kind of switching brushes, because some brushes give me a good effect, some other ones don't really give me the best effect, and I'm just trying to test out the best ones. And I even use some of these stamps too, but let's put this on darken. And all these details, like these little tiny bolts, you can do them now, or you can do them later. Doesn't really matter, but and let's go ahead and actually paint in the rim detail here. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and paint in the underside, just the treads. And I'm treating it, again, just very graphic, very simple. Almost like I'm doing like a brush pen drawing. I typically like to kind of block in my darks like this. Okay, let's go ahead and add a little bit more darker value here. I'll probably add a little bit of a darker value to the wheels. Okay, so once you have all of this drawing phase, if you turn off your line drawing, you can see a lot of it's kind of been blocked out in terms of shapes, right? This is something that you'd kind of end up with. So once you end up with something like this, you can start to, put in some of the lighter shapes, and I'll start to select some of these colors and I'll lasso out. And I'm basically just kind of painting in these shapes here. This is looking a little bit squatty, so I'm gonna just kind of adjust the proportion a little bit. But this is kind of the way I handle a lot of the details, or a lot of the rendering for these types of studies, is just kind of simple blockouts and then slowly adding in our details. And in general, this kind of gives us like a nice overall starting point, to kind of figure out whether this is looking correct, whether we got nice colors, whether the tones and values look okay. Like, this is just, it's a nice simple way of working where you can work graphically but also still somewhat accurately too. So once you've basically done this version, I'm gonna go in here and just start to, I compress the layers, and I'm gonna start painting on a flat image. And all I'm really trying to do is kind of paint just some of the details that this thing might be lacking. And again, like, I would recommend you guys to try this for just a study, like really simple vehicle study here. Again, this technique is completely different from photo bashing, but the whole goal for this is to just understand the basic shapes, just like shape design for landscapes. All right, let's go ahead and paint. Again, just like what we did with the photo study initially, I'm literally color picking this thing because it's a study. You know, I'm just trying to kind of capture the same details here. Create a little bit more movement, a little bit more interesting colors and shapes. I'll even mixer brush some of the colors from our vehicle here onto our painting. So you can see it's like really straightforward. Um, Again, same process for just studying. All this is about is just understanding just kind of like what the shapes are doing and then interpreting it. And then as you start to slowly build up these shapes, you start to build up more details. Notice how like even as I do this study here, I'm starting to refine and even color pick these details, these areas, to kind of express some of the subtle transitional areas or subtle surface details here. So you see that I'm actually just putting down, again, just some of these details here. Like I'm looking at this area and I'm trying to capture all of this in our painting, in our image. Trying to capture all this stuff, but very loosely, and I'm only thinking about just the shape. I want to take basically what I have here, and what I based on what we learned is I want to do kind of like a, I guess like a our own design based on what we learned here with the colors and everything. Because this is really just to kind of get some interesting color variation and different, just different textures, kind of explore some of those things. um, okay, now once we get this, what I like to do now is actually get this entire image, compress it, and then I'll do my own just treatment on top of everything, and I'll just kind of add like kind of the smokes and all of the debris and everything here. I'm going to use a smudge brush to kind of help break up the surfacing and pattern here. Use this here to kind of help with a little bit of the reflection. So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to kind of create just a little bit of just water reflection. And maybe we'll just kind of like get some of this debris and stuff here, and then even like all of the smoke and stuff in the background, I can actually try to get that same vibe just by adding in just a little, like glazing in a little bit of this color back here. And that's where I like to use the smudge brush, the mixer brush, and just kind of painting over to get some nice blending effects. But like even like doing a study like this is the reason why I don't know if a lot of you guys have Facebook. You probably do, but on Facebook I do a lot of these. I did do a lot of these before, and these were just to do studies to get really comfortable and understand color, and also just understand my subject, so that when I do my own designs, I know exactly, you know, I kind of take what I learned and I apply it. And then maybe on this kind of stuff, the noise, I can like soften it up a little bit. Maybe I can use a little bit of the mixer brush to kind of help put in some of these shapes. And I'll use again the mixer brush to help with just any more information. Here I'll just kind of sample colors, sample some of the values, and I just kind of add on top. Okay, and then as a bonus, this is what I like to do. You get a abstract painting. Let me see here. I'm looking at abstract paintings like this to kind of get some cool brush strokes or marks, stuff like that. That might be kind of nice. Actually, these are really cool. Let's try this. And I apply it on here like this. I'm going to put this on overlay, and I'm going to desaturate. And then when I do this, all I'm really doing it for is areas where it's boring. So right now the background is really boring. So I'm going to reveal this in the background. So you get all this cool stuff for free. Okay, let's go ahead and select one area, and then I'll do just a little bit more, just color vibrancy. All right, and there you have it, guys. That is basically the simple demo for just doing a study. Okay, so what do we get from this, and how does this apply to our concept? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this principle, everything that we learned, and we're going to do our own concept from here. So remember how, like, just like what I spoke about earlier in the very beginning, I say you always want to do a study and then do your own concept. Now, if some of you guys feel, let's see here, if you guys want to draw your own concepts out, this is where I would draw our own concepts or our own designs here to be in the similar perspective. So you can probably do something like this where maybe it's a similar shape or similar design where it has like a wheel. Instead, for us, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go six wheeled. Like, this is a completely different vehicle. So as you start to develop your own design or your own sketch, I'm gonna still keep the same color, but I'm going to do, you know, just our own shapes, you know, but the colors and everything are going to be very similar. Maybe we can go two-wheeled or something. So there's this principle, this idea, right, where you basically take what you learn from the photo and apply your own kind of, drawing. But then what we're gonna do here is we're going to basically reference all of this and paint it. The other thing that I wanted to mention is if you guys don't want to do this and you're like, oh, I don't want to draw, I want to take what we have from the existing and how do we work with this. You can take the existing thing and you can photo bash, and that's kind of like where I wanted to teach you photo bash technique, because you can use this photo bash and use it as your reference to paint. And so that's kind of like, this is kind of the idea of utilizing photo bash with your, I guess, with the concept where we're taking what you've learned, and then we're gonna photo bash all this stuff and then kind of come up with our own shapes. Then we're gonna paint this up, so this is the other technique that you could do. Let's do something like this, and then maybe something. So when you have something like this, you go, okay, this could be something that you could then copy to do something like this, right? But that's if you don't want to draw. Okay, so I just want to let you guys know, if you want to just photo bash to use as a study, right? Just know that you're gonna do this to do a study, and then you're gonna do basically a drawing of that. Does that make sense? And you basically kind of draw out your vehicle. You go bing, 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 bing. Okay, does that make sense? Like this is kind of like the other method of concepting from photo bash, and this is the reason why I wanted to teach you guys this thing, so that it kind of has there's kind of like this dual purpose. Okay. Just for this one, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and do our own. I'm gonna paint, based on what we learned here. It's just more straightforward. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Let's do the same thing. White background. Um, and you can tell that it starts to get a little bit faster. And that's a kind of a good thing, because when you start to get quicker at it, then it becomes a lot more fun, because now you already know what to do because you've done it already. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Same kind of gesture. Let's go ahead and add that in. Okay, all this stuff can easily change if some of the shapes don't look good. I can easily go back and change it. I want to just start by simply blocking out the entire silhouette without the wheels. I just want to block out just the overall body of the car or the vehicle. So that way we can just double check, make sure that the silhouette looks okay. And then let's go ahead and do the wheels. Okay, and then when you look at our drawing, this is what I have. Look, see? Just pretty clear silhouette. And I'm going to use this to kind of sketch out the rest of our dark shadows. So let's try to block out anywhere where it's kind of a darker shadow shape. Now this is where you're going to have to really be really clear on your own design. You have to know exactly where the shadow shapes are. And if you know where your shadow shapes are, then all this stuff instantly becomes easier and quicker. Let's go ahead and do some shadow shapes. flow of the shapes is going to be more, simple versus complex. Um, and also just, when I think about the flow of this design, I think about kind of like the aggressive stance, you know? I would recommend kind of working more desaturated first and then start selecting areas to make it a little bit more saturated. When it goes in light, it loses saturation because it's so bleak, like it's being blown out by the light source. Look at the saturation versus here. You see it's 4 versus here. Look, 10, 10, 8, 12. Look here, it's like 9, 3, 4. Look, shadow part 13, and then goes to 6. You see? Let's say you have your design or your photo reference here. One thing I like to do is just grab certain areas like this and then apply it to our design like this, and then erase away, and then you paint on top. You basically use the highlight. As long as your highlight and your lighting is very similar, you won't know that that is a photo texture, and you just kind of scrub on top a little bit. It's all about design. It's about creativity. That's what they care about. This is really good for color and texturing, but you still need to have, a very clear design drawing or an image that shows off the shapes and proportions really clearly. You know what I like to think, how I like to think about it? Um let's say everyone has to build a house from scratch. Okay, using sticks and mud. Okay? And let's say I give you a really quick painting of it. Would you be able to draw it? Would you be able to build your house relatively accurately? And that's basically why, like, you probably wouldn't be able to, and that's why the line drawings or design production drawings are so important. Sometimes some of it gets a little too busy, so I always kind of go back on top and simplify. That's pretty much it, guys. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email myself or Matt Zickery. Thank you again for watching this tutorial, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.